So I came across a piece of equipment, something you don't see every day, and I'm not even going to tell you what it is until the opening is done, because I want to keep you in suspense. But I will say that it was a piece of equipment that was an add-on for tape recorders. And this would go back to, I'm going to say that probably the early 1970s when this technology first started rolling out. It became pretty standard, but on initial tape recorders, it was non-existent. Let's check it out. This gadget that I've got here is about as rare as hen's teeth. You're wondering what this gadget is. It's made by Panasonic, and kind of covering up what it is to keep you guys interested. But it says 2 amplifier, record out and play back, 2 deck, line in, line out. And it's manufactured under licensing from Dolby Laboratories. Any idea what it is? It's a Dolby noise reduction unit, model RP966. So this was manufactured, this would be back probably in the very early 70s, I'm going to guess. And it was made before cassette decks had Dolby built in. This would be a Dolby B unit. And we're going to take this thing apart and see what's in it. I have no idea whether it works or not, although we can certainly try that out by just looping through the amplifier and see if it emphasizes the treble and reduces it on the playback side. I've got a calibration control. I don't even know how to work this thing, to tell you the truth. Record mode and play mode and power. And I don't know if it works or not, but before I even plug it in, we're going to take this thing apart and see what's inside it. It's kind of rusty. I've had this thing for a while. It was given to me a while back, and I just haven't got around to showing it off to anybody yet. Obviously, a unit like this is targeting the pre-Dolby cassette decks and reel-to-reel decks of the late 60s and early 70s to give someone compatibility with newer tapes that were using Dolby noise reduction. Now, I've never seen one of these myself. I actually have somewhere in storage, I have a DBX unit that does the same thing but uses DBX to convert a conventional tape deck into a DBX deck. But this one here is for Dolby, and it's all discrete components. Holy smoke. Look at all those parts in there, all those resistors standing up on end, touching each other. Good thing they put paint on the wires so that when they're touching together, they're not shorting out. Old school. I bet all those caps are still fine in this machine. In fact, I'd put money on it that there's nothing wrong with any of the caps, because this was made long before the capacitor problem started. Now, a unit like this would be perfectly useful for, say, using with a reel-to-reel machine that did not have Dolby. In fact, that's probably where this was targeted, was to reel-to-reel users of the day. Cassette decks, a lot of them came with Dolby built in, but not very many reel-to-reel machines had it initially. They added it at the end, but there was a lot that didn't have it. So a unit like this would be perfectly useful on a reel-to-reel machine to add Dolby B noise reduction. To say, I don't even know how to set this thing up. You must calibrate it and set your record level and set your meters on your machine and set your Dolby level. I don't know. I'll have to plug this thing in and play around with it and just see exactly what it does, because I've never worked with one of these units. In fact, I've never seen one of these before until today. But there is a light bulb here to light up this meter, and I take it that you hit the record, calibrate, and adjust your level accordingly. This is your Dolby level. Let's just see what type of a signal this puts out on the outputs. 400 hertz. I know that because 440 is more like. That's 440. .400 hertz. So it's using a 400 hertz tone. That switch could use cleaning. Probably all could use cleaning. But that would be recorded on the tape and played back. We'll just give these switches a clean while I've got it apart here. Not good enough at switching a key. All the switches. Next thing you guys will want me to do is hook it up to a tape recorder without Dolby to test it. And I can actually do that because I have a tape recorder that doesn't have Dolby. Well, I mean, any tape recorder you can turn off the Dolby on anyway, but I got tape recorders coming out my yin yang here that I can use for a demonstration. So I've got a reel-to-reel machine set up here. I'm not quite sure how to set this up, but I have a sneaking suspicion if I put it in record mode, tone, and then I put this into source. I probably have to have the Dolby. Do I have to have it on or off? I don't know. Maybe off to start with. I calibrate this. I'm thinking I calibrate this to 0 dB for both the left and the right channel. I would think that's what I do. So I've now calibrated my tone at 0. It might be, I'm sure it's 0. Is anything else marked on here? There's a little mark up here, but I don't think that's for Dolby. Anyway, I'll calibrate them to exactly 0, right there. Right on the line for 0. I switch this off. I switch the Dolby on this. And now I can control my level. This will control the level of the recording. So I'm going to set this up here so that I'm just getting to the... I'm thinking I'd set the peak into the, right, because if I turn it beyond that, I'm going to be into the red. So I set my levels here so that this level here for the Dolby is just getting into that Dolby zone. I'm going to grab a track that I'm going to actually record. Grab my remote control. Oops. Tried to go beyond how many tracks are on the recording. All right, so that looks good. I'll start the track up again. We'll put the machine into record and I'll start the track and we'll let it record, and then I should only have to switch this to playback, switch this to tape mode, monitor mode, and we should have Dolby recorded on this tape. All things working, that's how it's supposed to work. I'm pretty sure that's how this works. Again, I don't have a manual for this, but it's not much different than my DBX processor that I had years ago. You did a similar thing with that. You set up the record level, it provided a reference tone, you set your recording to 0 dB, and then let it do its job. So I'll let this record, we'll play it back, and we can actually take the output right from the tape right into the camera. That way I can switch it on and off so you guys can hear that it actually is working and removing the hiss. Alright, the tape is finished. Rewind it now. We'll switch this to playback. Make sure I turn that before I do that, or we'll get nasty feedback. That's a good way to blow your speakers, especially if your volume is up. Wow. Clearly designed for a two-head deck. Rewind the tape back, and I will play this in directly, but we'll take a listen to it first, just through the speakers. The track I'm going to play, it's called Star Walk, just so you guys don't have to ask. It's by Jack Waldemar is the composer. Musicbakery.com is his website. It is royalty free. He sells this stuff. Great stuff. This is a great track for demonstration. Let's take a listen here first through the speakers, and then I'll hook it up direct. Sounds pretty good. Let's just listen, turn on and off the Dolby and see if I can hear the hiss. Certainly hear it. Sounds pretty bloody good through the speakers. Of course, you guys can't tell listening through the speaker, so let me plug this in directly and let you hear right off the tape what it sounds like. And I'll switch the Dolby on and off a bit so you can hear it, so you can hear the effect on the hiss before the music starts, for example. And we'll take a listen to it, but it sounds pretty damn good. Although reel-to-reel obviously does sound good, and I recorded it at 7.5 IPS on this Bell Clear tape, which is Audio Magnetics Corporation. Look at the price of this tape when this tape was new. 52 cents. 52 cents for a 5-inch reel of Audio Magnetics tape. I don't know when that would have been. Late 60s maybe? I have no idea. I don't know if it's got a date on here. Does it say anything about this? It was a tape that was given to me. And I don't know if there's a date anywhere on here. All it says on the back is Mandarin. I guess that was what was on it before I erased it. Anyway, let's plug it in directly to the camera. I'll set the levels up and we'll listen to it right off the tape. Okay, so I think that about does it for this one. To give you a basic demo on this old Panasonic Dolby unit, Dolby noise reduction unit, designed for reel-to-reel. Obviously, this, I mean, I guess it could be used with a cassette. If you had a cassette deck that didn't have Dolby on it, it could certainly be used with a cassette deck. But I think this was designed for reel-to-reel machines, because this would have been from the era when reel-to-reel recorders were still relatively popular, and some of the later models came out that had Dolby on them, but the vast majority did not. So this allowed someone who had an older machine to be able to record and play tapes and interchange them with the newer machines that had Dolby. And that is probably the only reason this device ever existed. It's Dolby B only, and well, the Dolby that was on reel-to-reel was Dolby B. They didn't have anything other than Dolby B. I think it's Dolby B. Pretty sure it's Dolby B on this. But they didn't have anything other than Dolby B for reel-to-reel. They never got to Dolby C or Dolby S for the machines that were designed for consumer use. The professional studio decks, yes, they did have more advanced. They even had Dolby A, which was another version of Dolby, and DBX, and all different types of noise reduction, Dolby S and all kinds of other ones. But the consumer reel-to-reel machines, they had Dolby B added to them at the end of the run just before they all disappeared. And this device let you add Dolby B to one that didn't have it. It appears to be working, other than having to clean the switches on it, which I've done. It looks like it's working. You know, this thing's probably 50 years old. I don't know if there's any date on the back of this thing. Does it say? I didn't even look. Made in Japan. Someone might know it's a model RP966 is the model of this unit. Anyway, it's an unusual piece of equipment that's pretty useful if you're dealing with reel-to-reel tapes. And just before I go, I was out today in my car because my bike needs some work on it. It has a problem with the throttle. It won't idle properly, so I had the car out today. Big announcement on the news this morning, thinking, being blown out of proportion by the media, that the cost to charge an electric car is going up like 15% at the public charging station. So someone just has to walk up to me because they see I'm driving an EV, and they said something along the lines of, I guess it's not such a good deal now that the rates have gone up. And I replied to the guy, they haven't gone up for me, I charge at home. The only people that it's going up for are people that use the public charging stations. I pay for mine through my home electric bill, and it doesn't cost me much to charge it at all. I can go 100 kilometers on up less than $2, and I'm certainly not going 100 kilometers on $2 of gas. In fact, to go 100 kilometers on gas would probably be, I'm going to say $10, maybe more at the price of gas today. Takes about 5 liters to go 100 kilometers, and at $2 a gallon, yeah, that's $10 versus $2. I don't even think about what it costs to run. But I guess for those that go to the public charging stations and don't have a charging system at home, they're going to pay a little more. It'll cost them $3 to go 100 kilometers instead of $2. Anyway, thanks for watching.